The impossible world. Navigator Xerex stood frozen before the main view screen of the Galactic Confederation vessel Horizon Seeker, her 4 eyes widening as the scanners completed their analysis. The planet before them, officially designated HT-147-3, glowed a brilliant blue-green against the black void of space, its surface shimmering with vast oceans that covered nearly 78% of its area. "This can't be correct," she whispered, her slender fingers tapping frantically at the console. "Run the environmental scan again." Science Officer Kilter approached, his leathery skin crinkling with concern. Like all members of the Confederation's 27 spacefaring species, the sight of so much water made his throat constrict with instinctive dread. "The readings are consistent, Navigator. Liquid water covers most of the surface, with depths exceeding 8 kilometers in some regions." Kilter paused, checking another reading. "But there's something else. The sensors are detecting artificial structures, energy signatures, and communication broadcasts. This planet appears to be inhabited by an advanced civilization." Captain Vexora, a veteran explorer from the desert world Pharsis Prime, joined them at the console. In her 60 cycles of service to the Confederation, she had catalogued hundreds of planets, but never encountered a water world with intelligent life. "That's impossible," she said firmly. "No species can develop advanced technology on a hydro-extreme world. Water is hostile to technological development." Throughout the known galaxy, water planets were classified as uninhabitable death traps. The Galactic Confederation had a universal trait among its member species. They all evolved on worlds where water was scarce and precious. Large bodies of water represented mortal danger to every known intelligent species. Even rain was considered a hazard on many Confederation worlds. "The readings are undeniable, Captain," Kelter insisted. "And there's more. The signals appear to originate from both land and water regions." Communications specialist Naren turned from her station, antenna twitching with excitement. "Captain, I'm intercepting thousands of communication channels. They're using radio waves, digital signals, and even some quantum entanglement networks. This is definitely an advanced civilization." Captain Vexora made her decision. "We need to investigate this anomaly. If there truly is an intelligent species that has evolved to thrive on a water world, it could revolutionize our understanding of habitable environments. Establish standard orbit and prepare a comprehensive scan. No contact until we understand what we're dealing with." For 3 full cycles, the crew of the Horizon Seeker observed HD 147-3, or Earth as its inhabitants called it. With each new piece of data, their bewilderment grew exponentially. "They have thousands of vessels that deliberately travel on water," reported Security Officer Dravex during their daily briefing. The view screen displayed images of cargo ships, naval vessels, and recreational boats. "They transport goods and even travel for pleasure." Pleasure. On the surface of an ocean. Captain Vexora couldn't hide her disbelief. "That's nothing," Naran interjected. "Look at this." She played video footage of humans swimming, surfing, and diving. They willingly submerge themselves in water. They call it swinning and consider it both recreation and sport. They even hold competitions to see who can move through water the fastest. The bridge crew watched in horrified fascination. Several officers had to look away, their species' instinctive hydrophobia too strong to bear the sight. "What about their physiology?" Captain Vexora asked, turning to the medical officer. Dr. Jackson brought up a detailed biological scan on the main screen. "They're carbon-based bipedal mammals, not so different from several Confederation species in basic structure. But their relationship with water is unique. They're composed of approximately 60% water themselves. They require regular water intake to survive, and their skin doesn't dissolve or deteriorate with prolonged water exposure like ours would." "Could they be amphibious?" suggested Navigator Xerex. Dr. Jackson shook his head. "No, they can't breathe underwater naturally. They're terrestrial creatures who have simply adapted to interact with water in ways we find unnatural." After gathering sufficient data, Captain Vexera made her final decision. This species appears peaceful and highly adaptable. I'm initiating first contact protocols. The Confederation had established careful procedures for introducing themselves to new spacefaring civilizations. They selected a remote, uninhabited area, a desert in this case, where the delegation would feel comfortable, and sent the standard greeting message to Earth's governments. The humans responded with remarkable composure at learning they weren't alone in the universe. A delegation was assembled, led by Admiral Chen, a respected military officer chosen to represent Earth's United Nations. Ambassador Toril, a veteran diplomat who had facilitated the admission of 5 species to the Confederation, led the alien delegation. Despite his experience, nothing had prepared him for meeting beings who lived comfortably on a water world. The first contact site was meticulously prepared, a temporary structure in the Sahara Desert with environmental controls set to accommodate both species. When the human delegation arrived, Ambassador Toril stepped forward with the traditional Confederation greeting, touching his forehead, and then extending his hand, palm upward. "We bring greetings from the Galactic Confederation, a peaceful alliance of spacefaring species," he said through the translation device. "We are honored to meet the people of Earth." Admiral Chen smiled and attempted to replicate the gesture. "The people of Earth are honored to meet you, Ambassador. We have many questions." "As do we," replied Toril. "Your world is unusual in our experience. Most intelligent species evolve on planets with minimal surface water." Admiral Chen looked surprised. "Really? Our planet is mostly ocean. In fact, we've only explored about 20% of our deep oceans. There's still so much we don't know about what lives in the deepest parts." Several members of the Confederation delegation visibly shuddered. "You explore your oceans?" asked Science Officer Kelter, unable to conceal his discomfort. "Of course," replied Dr. Lakshmi, Earth's leading oceanographer. She activated a holographic display showing deep-sea exploration vehicles and divers examining underwater volcanic vents. The footage then shifted to beaches filled with people swimming, surfing, and playing in the waves. "We swim in our oceans for recreation," Admiral Chen explained casually. "Some humans live on boats or floating cities. Water is essential to our culture and economy." Ambassador Toril swayed slightly, his gray skin taking on a pale blue tint. "You willingly submerge yourselves in large bodies of water for entertainment." "Since childhood," Dr. Lakshmi nodded. "Doesn't everyone?" Ambassador Toril's translator produced a strange sound as he struggled to find words. Then his eyes rolled back, and he collapsed to the floor with a soft thud. Admiral Chen rushed forward in alarm. "Is he all right? Should we call our medical team?" Captain Vexera stepped in quickly. "He'll recover. Please understand, Admiral, that for our species, for all Confederation species, deep water represents our most primal fear. What you've shown us is equivalent to humans deliberately playing in radioactive fire." Admiral Chen looked from the fallen ambassador to the shocked faces of the delegation. "I had no idea," she said softly. "We meant no offense." "None taken," Captain Vexera assured her. "But I believe we've discovered why humans are unique in the galaxy. Your comfort with water will change everything we thought we knew about habitable worlds." As medical officers revived Ambassador Toril, Captain Vexera realized they had discovered not just a new species, but perhaps the most valuable allies the Confederation had ever encountered. These humans, with their strange ability to thrive on a water world, would open doors that had remained firmly shut to all other species since the dawn of interstellar exploration. The implications were staggering. Across the galaxy, thousands of planets had been classified as uninhabitable due to their high water content. Planets rich in resources, but covered in oceans, had been passed over for millennia. Now, humans could access what no other species dared approach. "Admiral," Captain Vexera said, her voice steady despite her excitement, "I believe this meeting marks the beginning of a partnership that will transform the galaxy. Your species can go where none of ours can. Together, we might unlock the potential of worlds we've been forced to ignore." Admiral Chen nodded, beginning to understand the magnitude of what their differences meant. "And your technology could help us reach the stars more efficiently than we ever could alone." As the two delegations continued their discussions, news of the extraordinary water-dwelling humans spread throughout the Confederation. Skepticism gave way to fascination, and eventually to hope. On millions of screens across thousands of worlds, people watched footage of humans swimming, diving, and sailing, activities as alien to them as breathing vacuum would be to humans. Within a year, Earth had been formally invited to join the Galactic Confederation as its 28th member species, and the first from a water world. The Rescue Mission. 3 years after Earth joined the Galactic Confederation, the emergency alarm blared throughout the massive space station that served as the Confederation's headquarters. Red lights flashed in the circular council chamber as Fleet Admiral Ormax entered with a grim expression. "The research vessel Celestial Discovery has crashed on Aquarius IV," he announced to the gathered representatives of the 28 spacefaring species. "Their distress signal indicates 17 crew members are alive but stranded. Their vessel is taking on water and sinking into an oceanic trench." The chamber erupted into noise. Aquarius IV was notorious even among water planets. Its surface was 97% covered in liquid water, with massive storms that made Earth's hurricanes seem gentle by comparison. "How long do they have?" asked Representative Kellax from the desert world Eridus. "Less than 48 hours before their emergency systems fail," Admiral Ormax replied. "The Celestial Discovery is equipped with standard water barriers, but they were damaged in the crash." Counselor Telger stood, his scaled skin reflecting the emergency lights. "It's a death sentence to send a rescue team," he declared. "The planet is almost entirely liquid. No sensible being would voluntarily approach such a world." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Commander Maya Rodriguez, Earth's senior representative, had been listening quietly. She rose from her seat, standing out among the aliens with her smooth skin and dark hair. "Humans volunteer for this mission," she said firmly. "We have extensive experience in marine rescue operations." The chamber fell silent. Even after 3 years, many Confederation species still found humans unsettling. Their comfort with water seemed unnatural. "Commander Rodriguez," Admiral Ormax said carefully, "Aquarius IV is not like Earth. Its oceans are deeper, its storms far more violent. The water pressure alone would crush most vessels." "We understand the risks," Rodriguez replied. "But while you've been talking, my team has already drafted a rescue plan." She activated a holographic display showing specialized submersibles and diving equipment. "These are designed for extreme water environments. We can modify them for Aquarius IV's conditions." The council members stared at the display. For them, it was like watching someone plan to jump into a volcano. The crew of the Celestial Discovery includes representatives from 8 Confederation worlds. Rodriguez continued, "Would you leave them to drown because of your fear?" A heavy silence hung in the air. Finally, Admiral Ormax nodded. "The humans may attempt what we cannot." Within 12 hours, the rescue vessel Poseidon's Trident launched from the Confederation station. Its crew consisted of 20 humans, led by Captain Marcus Chen, a veteran of Earth's deep-sea rescue operations, along with 4 brave alien engineers who volunteered despite their instinctive dread. The ship's cargo hold contained equipment that baffled the Confederation engineers: submersibles designed to withstand crushing pressure, diving suits with advanced life support, and water navigation systems hastily adapted for Aquarius IV's conditions. Lieutenant Sasha Ivanova, the ship's pilot, plotted a course that would take them to Aquarius IV in 36 hours, leaving barely 12 hours for the rescue operation. "Have you ever seen water conditions like these?" asked Engineer Kex, studying the limited data they had on Aquarius IV. "Nothing even close," replied Chen. "This planet has no significant landmass to break up its oceanic currents. The storms must be constantly feeding energy into the water system. Vorax, one of the alien engineers, approached hesitantly. "I've been studying your equipment. These wetsuits, as you call them, you wear them to deliberately enter water." Chen nodded. "They protect us from cold and provide buoyancy control." "And the breathing devices?" Vorax pointed to the oxygen tanks. "They let us breathe underwater for hours." Vorax's large eyes blinked rapidly. "Fascinating and terrifying. On my world, children are taught to avoid puddles deeper than their ankles." As the Poseidon's trident approached Aquarius IV, even the experienced human team fell silent. Through the viewports, they could see a world that was a nightmare of water. The entire planet was dark blue-gray, covered in swirling clouds and massive storm systems. Waves could be seen even from orbit. Gigantic mountains of water that rose and fell across the endless ocean. "Those waves must be over 200 meters high," whispered Lieutenant Ivanova. "The celestial discovery crashed in this region," said Chen, highlighting an area on the display. "Their emergency beacon shows they're lodged on an underwater ridge about 40 kilometers from the crash site. The current must have carried them." "Can we even land in these conditions?" asked Dr. Hernandez, looking at the storms below. Pilot Ivanova studied the instruments. "Not directly on the surface. We'll need to use the dropships." She pointed to the specialized vessels designed to be deployed from orbit. "They can handle the atmospheric entry and reach the water surface." Captain Chen gathered the team for a final briefing. "This won't be like any rescue operation on Earth. The pressure, the currents, the waves, everything will be more extreme. We stick to the plan. 2 submersible teams will locate and secure the celestial discovery. The extraction team will remove the survivors. The engineering team will salvage critical research data if possible." He looked at each team member. "We have 12 hours to get in, find them, and get out before the next megastorm hits this region." Questions? Dr. Hernandez raised her hand. "What about the alien crew? Will they panic when they see us in the water?" "Probably." Chen nodded. "We'll need to keep our movements slow and calm. Remember to them, we're doing something completely unnatural." The dropships detached from the Poseidon's trident 6 hours later, hurtling through Aquarius IV's turbulent atmosphere. Inside, the human team performed final checks on their equipment, while the 4 alien engineers monitored from a safe distance, their fear visible but controlled by professional discipline. As they broke through the clouded layer, the true scale of Aquarius IV's oceans became apparent. In every direction to the horizon, there was only water. Dark, churning, and terrifying. Waves taller than office buildings rose and fell in slow motion. The sound of water hitting their ship was like constant thunder. 5 minutes to water contact," announced the pilot. "Submersible teams, prepare for deployment." Captain Chen secured his helmet and gave a thumbs up to his team. "Let's show the Confederation what humans can do." Behind them, Engineer Vorax watched with a mixture of horror and admiration. "You are either the bravest or the most insane species we have ever encountered." Chen smiled. "Maybe a bit of both. That's how we survived on a water world." The dropship's lower bay opened, revealing the churning ocean below. The submersibles, gleaming with their reinforced hulls, hung suspended above the waves. "Deploy," ordered Chen. The cables released, and the submersibles dropped into the alien ocean, the first human vessels to enter the waters of Aquarius IV, carrying the only hope for the 17 crew members trapped in their sinking ship, surrounded by their greatest nightmare. The conditions underwater were even more challenging than anticipated. Visibility was limited to less than 10 meters in the murky depths, and powerful currents threatened to sweep the submersibles away. The pressure at their target depth was twice what they had prepared for, forcing them to descend more slowly than planned. "Sonar contact," reported Lieutenant Yamamoto from the lid submersible. "I have the celestial discovery on sensors, depth 1,200 meters. It's lodged on a ledge above a deep trench. Status: asked Chen. Hull integrity at 42%. They've sealed off the lowest 3 decks, but water is still getting in. They're running out of space to retreat to. Chen's submersible approached the stricken vessel cautiously. Through the reinforced viewport, he could see the sleek research ship, its once proud lines now broken and twisted. Emergency lights flickered dimly within. "This is Captain Marcus Chen of the Earth rescue vessel Poseidon's Trident," he transmitted. "We're here to get you out." There was a moment of silence. Then a trembling voice responded. This is Science Director Vellum of the Celestial Discovery. You came through the water to reach us." "That's affirmative. We're preparing to dock and evacuate your crew." Another pause. "Our crew. Most have never seen so much water. They are not well." Chen understood the understated terror in the director's voice. "We understand. We'll work quickly. Please have your crew ready at the central airlock with whatever emergency breathing apparatus you have available." The rescue operation proceeded methodically despite the hostile environment. The human teams docked their submersibles to the Celestial Discovery's emergency airlocks and began evacuating the terrified alien crew. Many were nearly catatonic with fear, having spent days surrounded by their species' most primal nightmare. As the last survivors were transferred to the submersibles, a violent tremor shook the research vessel. "The ledge is collapsing," warned Lieutenant Ivanova. "We need to move now." Captain Chen and Engineer Santos were still inside, downloading critical research data from the ship's protected core. "2 more minutes," Chen replied, watching the progress bar on his tablet. "You don't have 2 minutes," Ivanova insisted. "Sensors show the whole ridge is breaking apart." Chen looked at Santos, who nodded grimly. They disconnected the tablet, securing it in a waterproof case. "All teams, clear the wreck immediately," Chen ordered. "We're coming out the hard way." To the horror of the watching aliens, Chen and Santos sealed their helmets, flooded the airlock, and swam out of the dying vessel just as it slipped from its precarious perch and plummeted into the abyss below. 42 hours after launching from the Confederation headquarters, the Poseidon's Trident returned triumphant. All 17 crew members of the Celestial Discovery had been rescued, along with their most valuable research data. The story of the human rescue spread rapidly throughout the Confederation. What had seemed impossible to 27 species had been accomplished with methodical efficiency by the 28th. Footage of humans willingly entering the water to save others became the most watched media across thousands of worlds. 6 months later, at a special session of the Confederation Council, a new division was announced. The Aquatic Worlds Exploration Corps, led by humans, but open to volunteers from all species willing to overcome their fears. "Today marks a turning point in galactic history," announced High Counselor Thaxon. "For millennia, we have turned away from water worlds, leaving vast regions of our galaxy unexplored. Thanks to our human allies, these worlds are no longer beyond our reach." Captain Chen, now Admiral Chen, stood before the council. "Humanity is honored to lead this initiative. Together, we will explore ocean worlds, harvest their resources, and perhaps even discover new forms of aquatic intelligence. What one species fears, another embraces, and therein lies the true strength of our Confederation." As the applause echoed through the chamber, representatives from a dozen worlds lined up to volunteer for the first training program. Brave individuals determined to overcome their instinctive dread of water with human help. The galaxy would never be the same again. The species that had evolved on a water world, once thought impossible, had opened the final frontier.